When using the ZModeler brush, there's a few other options you can actually apply to any target or any action to deform your model. To access this brush, just come over to your brush menu and click, and then just locate the ZModeler brush. Alternatively, you can hit B on your keyboard to open up the brush menu. You can isolate by the letter Z by pressing Z, and then you can finally press M to select the ZModeler brush. With this brush selected, if I just press spacebar, you'll see that QMesh is my action and my target is a single poly. If I hover over the part of the model here and just click and drag, it's going to perform that QMesh action across a single poly. Now, what if I want to apply this QMesh action across these three polys here? Well, I could just QMesh each of these polys to get that effect. But I could also use this Alt functionality with the ZModeler brush to generate a temporary polygroup. So as long as you have the ZModeler brush selected, if you hold down Alt and start clicking and dragging across your model, it is going to generate this white polygroup. Now this white polygroup is going to use any action you have and apply it across those white areas on the model. So right now, even though I have QMesh a single poly selected, when I click and drag this out, it's going to apply that QMesh action across the entire area of my model that had that white temporary polygroup. So this is going to allow you to come through and target different areas on your model very fast, and then use any of the actions inside the ZModeler menu to deform your mesh. Another nice thing about this Alt temporary polygroup functionality is that it will work alongside any existing targets. So I'm going to come over here and use the flat island target to QMesh this area of the model. So I'm going to hold spacebar, make sure I have my QMesh action selected, and then I'm going to come down here to flat island. By default, I'll just be able to hover over any of these polys here and click and drag, and that QMesh action will be applied across that entire flat island. So if I want to QMesh this flat island here, but I also want to apply this QMesh process here at the same time, all I need to do is come over to this other area of my model, hold Alt and click to assign that white temporary polygroup. And now when I come back to these polys over here, it is going to not only apply the QMesh action to this area, but also to the area with that white temporary polygroup. So clicking and dragging now will result in that flat island getting that QMesh action along with that white temporary polygroup. So using targets along with this temporary polygroup functionality will allow you to generate actions on your mesh to areas that will not be connected or may even be on separate geometry islands. Another function of the ZModeler brush is the ability to replay or repeat the stroke associated with the action you just applied. So if I come across this poly here and apply the QMesh action, I may have applied it at a certain distance that I want to apply elsewhere on my model. So to repeat or replay that action elsewhere, just hover over a poly and simply click. And the stroke associated with the action you just applied will be repeated identically to the other area of your mesh. So this will allow you to come through and replay or repeat the stroke to different areas of your model. And the distance in which you initially generated will be the same everywhere. This function works really well with the split point action. So if I hover over a point here and press spacebar to open up the ZModeler point menu, I'm going to locate the split action. So now I'm going to hover over that point again and just click and drag, and it's going to apply the split action, and it's going to generate this nice circular topology on my model. So to repeat this exact action elsewhere, just come over and click on another point, and it will apply the identical process as I did originally. This will allow you to come through and just repeat actions that you may have applied on your mesh to give you greater functionality and control over your models.